Welcome to the deep dive. We know you want to get straight to the good stuff, absorb knowledge fast without all the fluff. So today we're diving deep into Secrets of Street Survival Israeli Style. It's also out there as The Secrets of Street Self-Defense, the one by the professional bouncer Paul Wellard, covering volumes 1 and 2.
Yeah, and if you just glance at the contents, it's packed. Covers everything from the unspoken rules of a street fight, how to handle yourself, right through to striking, even using whatever's handy as a weapon.
Exactly. And our mission here, our goal for this deep dive, isn't just to list things off. We really want to pull out the core ideas, the stuff you can actually use from these books to, sharpen your understanding of self-defense in messy, real-world spots.
And the scope is pretty broad, isn't it? It's not just about fighting moves. There's this foreword by Dr. Dan Lee, a fifth Dan, and he highlights how practical it is, really down to earth, no nonsense, says it's useful for pretty much anyone, size, gender, whatever, it doesn't matter.
Right, and the publisher's note says something similar about being concise, giving real value. So, ready to jump into the core principles.
Absolutely. Let's start with what feels like the foundation for everything else, awareness and, crucially, avoidance.
Okay, let's unpack that because it sounds simple, be aware. But these sources really push it as an active thing. It's not just, casually looking around. It's actively spotting danger signs, trusting your gut, that feeling we often ignore, right?
Totally.
And fundamentally trying to avoid the confrontation completely. The book even starts with these 28 facts you should know about street fighting. And right near the top, it hits you with, street fighting is not a game and there are no rules. That kind of sets the tone, doesn't it?
It really does. And the awareness and avoidance section digs into this. It's about constant observation, paying attention to body language, clenched fists, weird breathing, darting eyes, but also the place itself, where are the exits, any potential trouble spots, groups acting weird. They call it an early warning system, basically tuning up your senses and intuition so you catch the vibe shift before things get bad.
Right. So you're not caught flat-footed. You're processing things, trying not to look like an easy mark. It's almost like a mental reset.
Exactly, a mental recalibration. And that idea, that proactive awareness, flows right into the next big thing, mindset and psychology.
This is where it gets really fascinating. Beyond just the physical, the book talks about the psych games in a confrontation. There's a whole bit on how to psyche out an opponent. Basically projecting confidence, even if you're, feeling shaky inside. Can that actually work?
Well, the interesting thing is how they link that outward confidence to your inner state. It's about managing fear, not pretending it's not there, but understanding what it does, the adrenaline, the fast heartbeat, and not letting it freeze you. It talks a lot about cultivating a really strong will to survive. That sheer determination can be huge, especially if you're, say, smaller or physically weaker. Predators look for easy prey, right? So projecting that confidence, that mental toughness, makes you seem like, more trouble than you're worth.
Yeah, being a hard target mentally as much as physically. And they mention fear into force. That's a powerful idea. How does that work practically?
The concept there is taking that nervous energy from fear, the fast heart rate, the heightened senses, and actually channeling it, turning it into focused action instead of panic. Things like controlled breathing can help, even right in the moment, to calm that panic response so you can think. And visualization, like mentally practicing what you do, can help you act instead of freezing up if things do kick off. It's about redirecting that energy.
Okay, so we've got avoidance, we've got the mental game. But what if avoidance fails? That leads us to principle number 3, the essential striking stuff. The book gets into specifics, mentions advanced punching techniques, even how to develop a knockout punch. Sounds pretty serious. What's the core idea for street situations?
The absolute key, according to this material, is efficiency, speed, and simplicity. That section really nails it. It's usually not the time or place for fancy martial arts moves. It's about simple, powerful strikes delivered fast to spots that, hurt or disable. Complex stuff takes time and space you just don't have in a chaotic street scenario.
Makes total sense. Gross motor skills over fine motor skills when you're under pressure. And it shows diagrams, the line and the triangle for targets. Can you explain those a bit? Why are they important?
Sure. The line is basically the vertical center line of your body. Think eyes, nose, throat, solar plexus, groin, super vulnerable points all down that line. Hitting these, even not super hard, can cause a lot of pain, maybe end the fight quickly. The triangle usually refers to the head area, chin, temples, maybe back of the neck. Again, hitting these can disrupt balance, vision, even knock someone out, like a quick jab to the chin. They're high probability targets for a fast result.
Gotcha. And one specific technique mentioned is the reverse punch. What's special about that one?
The reverse punch, well, the way it's usually taught for self-defense, it's very direct, linear. It uses your whole body, hips rotating, core engaged, to drive power straight forward. Plus, it's relatively simple, natural kind of movement. That makes it practical when things are messy and your fine motor control might be, shot because of stress.
Okay, knowing the techniques is one thing, but like you said, doing it under pressure, totally different. Which brings us to number 4, training and conditioning. The book has sections on toning and conditioning, even a training program. What's the main takeaway there?
The absolute main point is theory isn't enough. Not even close. You have to train realistically to bridge that gap between knowing what to do and actually being able to do it. It points out that some traditional martial arts training, while good, might not fully prep you for the sheer chaos and fear of a real street attack. You need that muscle memory, those instinctive reactions.
Now, your body just reacts without you having to think step by step.
Yeah, right.
What kind of training does it suggest?
A mix, really. Shadow boxing for speed and movement, heavy bag work essential for building real power, learning to hit hard, and importantly, sparring. Even controlled sparring gets you used to dealing with someone moving, reacting under a bit of pressure. It's all about building the physical tools, power, speed, endurance, but also that mental grit to perform when it counts.
Okay, now this next one, maybe not the first thing people think of, but it's in there.
Yeah.
Using improvised weapons. The section is just called Using Improvised Weapons. Why include that?
Well, it's practical, isn't it? It acknowledges that in a real situation, you probably won't have a weapon on you, or maybe you shouldn't. So it stresses being adaptable, resourceful, looking around. The point isn't to become an expert with, like, a chair leg, but to realize that everyday things can be used if you're in serious danger. It's about developing that awareness.
Can you give some examples? What kind of everyday things are we talking about?
Oh, common stuff. A pen, keys maybe, used for pressure points, a belt swung by the buckle, could be a rolled-up magazine, a sturdy umbrella, anything to create space, distract, deliver a quick strike. It's about seeing the potential in what's around you to give you an edge, help you escape. That's the goal.
Right. Now, we've gone through these principles, but sometimes within a source like this, you might find slightly different techniques, maybe conflicting advice here and there. How do we handle that?
Yeah, that's a really good point. Different scenarios might call for different tactics, and the author might offer options. But the core ideas we've talked about, awareness first, strong mindset, simple actions, realistic training, those tend to be the constant threads. The key is to really grasp those underlying principles. They give you the framework to understand why specific techniques are suggested and how to adapt.
And always remembering the goal isn't to look for trouble, but just to get through a dangerous encounter safely.
Absolutely. De-escalation is always stressed. Force is the last resort, only when you're genuinely threatened. It's about survival, self-preservation.
Okay, so let's try and boil this down. What are the absolute must-remember takeaways from this deep dive?
I'd say it's these. 1, make awareness and avoidance an active, ongoing habit. 2, work on your mental game, manage fear, project confidence. 3, if you have to fight, keep it simple, direct, and target vulnerable areas. 4, theory means nothing without practice. Train realistically. And 5, be resourceful. Know that everyday objects can potentially be used to help you survive an extreme situation.
That's a solid summary. Really covers the bases from prevention to action. Definitely gives you a more rounded way to think about safety. So as we wrap up, here's something maybe to chew on. Thinking about these principles, awareness, mindset, simplicity, training, improvisation. How could just raising your general awareness and shifting your mental preparedness impact your safety? Even in everyday life, situations that aren't about physical fights. It's bigger than just fighting, isn't it? It's sort of how you move through the world.
That's a great final thought. Definitely food for thought. Well, thanks everyone for joining us on this deep dive. We hope these insights prove valuable for you.